This download is the only extract the BBC has of this edition of Leontyne and Discs. The presenter was Roy Plumley.
Miss Price, you were born in the state of Mississippi. Do you come from a musical family?
I wouldn't say a musical family as such, but my mother had a gloriously beautiful voice and sang an awful lot, so I guess probably that was the beginning of my initial inspiration to sing, yes.
How did you start? Were you put to the piano in the usual way?
Yes, it's sort of the usual way. The only thing is, with having piano lessons at a very early age in the community where I was, which was a rather provincial one, it's put to good use as soon as you can tell one chord from the other. So I was playing for Sunday school and for community social events, and also graduated to playing even for the 11 o'clock service in the church.
Did you sing in the choir?
Oh, yes, I did. I was sort of a double duty because as I got a little older, as an early teenager, say from 14 to 16, I played and sang. So I was sort of the one-lady band, so to speak.
When did the ambition begin to take shape that you wanted music to be your life, your profession?
I think I've wanted to do something musically ever since I can remember, but I recall vividly an experience which I think probably pinpointed it for me. At the age of 9 or 10, I've forgotten technically which age it was, but somewhere along there, I was carried by my mother to a neighboring town of Jackson, Mississippi, and a gloriously regal lady walked out on stage in a beautiful white gown, and her name was Marian Anderson. And I knew as soon as I saw her walk out, even before she started to sing, and even more afterwards, that that's what I'd like to do one day.
Yes. And you won a scholarship to the Juilliard School of Music in New York. Was the scholarship enough to live on, or did you have to take jobs to tide you over?
I had jobs. I had, this may be incredible to believe, but I had a part-time job as a hostess behind an information desk at the International House in New York City. I have friends and colleagues who would probably argue that I had an information to give, but it certainly helped to pay for music, and I had some help from friends, and I worked also alternate Sundays for a church. I was a soloist there, so we made ends meet, what with my parents' help and mine.
As a student, which singers influenced you most?
Number one, as I said, Marian Anderson. Operatically speaking, I would have to say, without any question, Maria Callas. I think that she has left for us all a legacy of electricity, histrionic achievements, vocal perfection, professionalism, qualities that are too numerous to mention. As far as opera is concerned, she definitely was my great inspiration.
Yes. You did rather well in a student production of Verdi's Falstaff.
Yes.
Now, that student production of Falstaff was very useful to you because it was seen by Virgil Thompson.
That's true. Virgil Thompson was repeating a revival of his Four Saints in Three Acts. And I was able to, I auditioned and I was able to get that part. Also, the performance in which you heard me in Falstaff as Mistress Ford helped also as a double part of the audition. So I was able to be sort of number 7 saint on the right or something for a while.
And Four Saints in Three Acts led on to something else.
Four Saints in Three Acts led on to the part of Bess in the third revival of Porgy and Bess in 1952.
Yes, there was a Broadway run, and you brought Porgy and Bess to London and Paris and...
Yes, it was my first trip to this glorious city, as a matter of fact, 1952.
Now, 2 seasons of singing Bess and back to the States. You gave a recital at New York Town Hall that went down exceedingly well.
Yes, that crossed the bridge from Broadway to, I guess, what you would call the classic performing era.
Yes.
1954 it was, yes.
Then some opera on television.
Then, yes, at the NBC at that time sponsored a series of live opera performances in English, and I was given the role of Tosca, which made quite a splash in many ways, happily vocally, I'm very happy to say, but also the fact that it was the first time a black artist was in an operatic role on national television.
Yes.
Yes.
What was your first classical operatic appearance in the States?
Actually, the Dialogues of the Carmelites. In San Francisco in 1957, in the Francis Poulenc opera, was my very first operatic stage performance professionally in the United States.
Yes. And overseas?
Overseas was in Verona first, And actually, immediately after that, 1958, my debut here in Covent Garden in Aida.
And you sang Aida at the Scala Milan.
Yes, later, in 1960.
Was that a nerve-wracking occasion? Here was an American singing a Verdi role in Milan. Did you feel sort of rather humble about that, or a bit scared?
Oh, I think you can be humble to an extent, but not too humble if you're an opera performer.
Well, not a prima donna. No.
Only with family, I guess. No, not. I've never been afraid doing Aida. It's sort of my. How can I put it? I don't want to offend anyone, but it's sort of my comfortable shoe part, you know. I have Sarong will travel, so
Yes.
I wasn't upset about it
Yes,
at all.
you relax and enjoy that.
Very
really.
much so, yes.
When did you make your debut at the Metropolitan, New York?
January 1961, in the role of Leonora in Il Trovatore.
Yes.
Yes.
And in 1966, you starred in the opening production at the new Metropolitan. Now, that must have been quite a night.
Speaking of petrifying experiences, that was one, yes. In 1966, the opera Antony and Cleopatra, written by our very marvelous composer Samuel Barber, was the opening of the new Metropolitan Opera House, and I had the privilege of singing the part of Cleopatra. Yes.
How many operatic roles do you have in your repertoire?
Oh goodness,
Ever
I really
counted them?
don't know. I really don't know. Quite a few.
Apart from Aida, which are the easy shoes ones?
I try to think of them all as easy shoes. My approach is that they all are not too difficult. I think that's a healthy approach.
Right.
to
Which
have.
are the ones you'd still like to sing?
Probably, I would like to do someday maybe La Traviata on stage. I have not done that yet. It is in my repertoire, but I have not performed it as yet.
What proportion of your professional life is devoted to concert singing?
Now I have divided my performing life into 3 units. So it's 1/3 recital and concert performances, 1/3 opera and 1/3 recording.
Yes. You're a very prolific recording artist. You do most of your recording in London.
I'm happy to say I certainly do. I enjoy it immensely.
But that's why you do it here.
Well, for many, many reasons, it's where RCA does record now. But from my point of view, my love for English history makes it happier days for me when I'm not recording to stay in London.
Yes.
Yes.
You like roaming around old English buildings?
I do. There's so much to see here. It's a glory.
Yes. Which period in history interests you most?
The Elizabethan age.
Where is your base? Where do you live? In New York?
Yes, I live in the lower part of Manhattan, Greenwich Village, which is rather like your Chelsea area here, I think. Yes.
What excitements are lined up for the future?
I think speaking of other things that are exciting, there's another role that I'm adding to my repertoire within the year, and that is Manolesco of Puccini. So right now, that's probably my most exciting thing to look forward to.
Where are you going to sing that?
I will be doing it in San Francisco for the opening next season.
Great.
Yes.